Welcome back to the show with today's guest, Catherine O'Donovan. Sorry, Kat.
That's all right.
Keep calling you Catherine. Been calling you that for a year now. And also your son, Dylan,
Yep.
who's in the studio. We may be able to hear him, but it's not hubbub. This is Renovations for Beginners. We don't want to lead the viewers, up the garden path type of thing to say that it was a perfect renovation. There were some hiccups, and I think the attitude between all of us, we dealt with those hiccups quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I think so.
And if you want to, lead in and tell us what some of the issues were.
I think you can. Well, one thing is, I guess, you can never expect a build to be perfect. You've always got to know that there's going to be one problem or another, and you have to be ready to resolve it. And so one of the things for us was that we picked people like our builder and our architect that we knew we could negotiate and discuss, and we came from the same value sort of system. We didn't feel like there was any issues of dishonesty or, those kind of things. So the issues that we faced were that the painter basically probably underquoted and in terms of time and money, and he spent a lot of time on one area, and then basically the inside of the house, he basically didn't really paint. I could say gave one coat and they were like missing bits of paint. And then...
That's BSE painting. Oops, said his name.
Anyway, but I think what the painter didn't recognize is that he had a client that understood and would have renegotiated, if they'd given us good reasons and explained why he'd unquoted or what he'd done. Then we were the kind of people that once you're in the build and you're doing it and you see that the final product is going to be compromised, you want to fix that and you want to make that right. And so, unfortunately, he just sort of cut and run.
Yep.
Whereas, for example, the cabinetry in the study wasn't up to a standard that we required. It was a very special room and required a high attention of detail and quality. And so we then sat down with the cabinet guy and just said, look, what can we do to make this right? And so we renegotiated, and we were prepared to pay to make it right, but also to reasonably, not forking out cash. But
there were some issues with that, like I think the material selection was got a bit mixed up. May have got a bit mixed up at times.
It was all people's. Around, it wasn't just like one person's fault. And I think that's the thing in a build, usually you'll find there's 2 or 3 people that are involved in making a decision that has a poor outcome, and then you have to try and fix it, so it's not,
I think because the attitude of the cabinet maker as well, he was willing to come to the party and
and he understood. When he looked at it, he could see, so it wasn't, it wasn't, and that was how you resolve problems. That there's going to be problems. Just pick the right people and the right subbies along the way that are going to be the kind of people that you can work it out together.
It's important to note, the painter that I used for your job was a new painter, and generally speaking, I'd have the painter that I usually use.
Well, because when you had him, then when that team came in, they were completely different attitude. Completely, you could discuss things. You could say, "I need that attention there," and they responded, and they were really different. So the second lot. So stick with them.
A good tip for the viewers is when you do look at it, don't just look at the builder. Look at the
subbies as well. Yeah, very important. I didn't understand that until I'd done the build. Yeah. And that was something I learned about the build. You really have to look at subbing.
Too. It was a referral through someone else, and unfortunately, Brad, he didn't. Sorry, whoops! I mentioned his name again. Didn't come up to scratch. Yeah. I think that's enough bagging out the painter. Now, for me personally, I think I dropped the ball as a manager when I took Nick off the job a bit early, and we still had a little bit to go, and the person that I put in charge wasn't quite up to it, pushing it towards the end. I think I lost a few weeks.
You think you really need someone at the end that's going to push it through, don't you? Yeah, and I mean, it was fine. It was just that I think at the end of it, Woody and I, or Simon and I, were just completely exhausted at that stage. It was like we just needed to get in there because we saw a final product for about maybe 6 or 7 weeks, and we thought we could live in there, you know. And so it really, at the end of it, we were just at the end of it, and we're just like, we need to get in there. But it was, you know, it was fine. Once we were in, it was great, you know. So
just like they were quite minor issues, and we resolved them.
Yeah.
And would you undertake the process again? I know you said to me not long ago that they'll have to take you away in a box.
Yeah. Well, I just really love the house. I just really love what we did, and that's why I feel like I would never leave that house.
Hypothetically, would you?
Yeah, I'd definitely go through it, because actually now I feel a lot more informed and a lot smarter about it, and I think it's an invaluable thing to be able to understand the process when you're entering into it again. And I think if you're doing it, get your advice from people that have done it, you know, before, so because they've often got insights into things from a client perspective that you won't get from.
And what would you do differently from the very beginning up all the way through to the build?
I think Simon and I needed to interrogate more on materials and things like that. We were just, we took a bit of a backseat to that, and we were happy with the products that were chosen, absolutely. But we sort of went, oh, is that, you know, and really that was just about being informed, but probably that was really our issue, because, for example, we didn't go and see a single toilet show or, you know, showroom. We just went with what was chosen. You know, we went, yeah, he knows what he's doing.
But, you know, it was Stuart. You can trust Stuart.
Yeah,
well,
that's right. We felt that he had the expertise and the knowledge, and we totally trusted it. And all the products and things were perfect. You know, like they're perfect for what we want.
And throughout the build?
I think one of the things was probably more clarity on instructions. You know, we all sort of chatted about issues and problems, and I think we needed to say, okay, that's an instruction, and B, you know, the builder you guys need to write it down, and like follow it through.
I know we were going through meetings, and we were going through ideas and not knowing whether it was we actually proceed with that or if that was an idea that needed to be. And
in some cases, like we hadn't made the decision, but sometimes we had made the decision and then we couldn't remember what we'd made. And
I think our relationship, because we were there, you know, because we were fairly casual, and we were going through things, and then I think we kind of like lost a bit of focus as to contractually, let's go and instruct.
We were. I think that was Simon and I's personality too.
I think it was ours as well. You know. And do you have any tips for renovators out there?
I think the key thing that worked for us was that we picked people that we liked and trusted, and we knew we could negotiate with if things went pear-shaped. And that was a key factor for us. And we also wanted a good relationship through the build, so that at the end of the build, everyone felt good about the project, and that if things went wrong in the future, we could bring the parties back in and discuss how we were going to solve problems then. So it was very important for us to have good relationships all the way along. That was a key value for us, and it worked well in delivering a good project.
I think to summarise on that, it was all about attitude with your project.
Yeah.
You and Simon had the right attitude. We as the builders had the right attitude. Yeah. Stuart had the right attitude. And
we worked as a team and we got it done.
We ended up with a good product at the end.
I think so. That was really, and that was the key bit. I think everything else you can solve if you've got those key pieces in place, you know.
Well, thank you for being on the show, Kat.
You're welcome. I loved it.
Well, on next week's show, we'll take a look back at all the episodes that were filmed and the processes. And we'll also answer some of your viewer questions that have come in. Thanks for sending some of your emails. And in the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook, or you can email the show on renovationsforbeginners@gmail.com, which appears at the bottom of your screen. And until next time, dream it, plan it, build it.